Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Ripple CTO says institutions can move value without XRP or any crypto asset on the XRPL. Okay guys, let's get into it. Time to crush some dreams. Okay, alright. So, quick disclaimer. I am an XRP holder, as my regular audience will know, and I'm very optimistic about XRP. But I am also very realistic about XRP. So I wanted to cover this article so you guys could just understand what's really going on, so you've got realistic expectations here. So David Schwartz is saying that institutions can move value without XRP or any crypto asset on the XRP ledger. I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking, what's the deal with that? What's going on? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into this. It's something basically called trust lines, and I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of what they are, and then I'll basically go through the pros and the cons of this, okay? So let's get into first and foremost the tweet where this came from. So you've got Sean D. Langshaw replying to a tweet. I've not got the full tweet up, but I'm just going to give you the context of where David Schwartz has come in and what he has said. So Sean D. Langshaw said, replying to Abs from Good Morning Crypto and Digital Perspectives, be sure to explain how trust relationships are created between entities and the associated tokens via those relationships as outlined in the XRPL docs. In this scenario, XRP is only needed for transaction fees. Institutions can and will create trust relationships and can transact without XRP. Okay, so then David Schwartz has said, I really hope institutions do form trust relationships and leverage them. This was the original vision for trust lines going back to 2004 and Ryan Fugger's work. The core concept behind ILP, and I still think it's a huge win for everyone. Okay, so let's just go a bit further into this so I can explain just a version of a trust line, okay? So David Schwartz is giving you like an example here. So to clarify his position, Schwartz presented an instance involving Alice and Bob, two parties with a trust relationship. These individuals might extend credit to each other and settle up weekly, or they might already have an open payment channel on the XRPL. Notably, every method Alice has to receive funds and every method Bob has to send funds create part of a payment network. If Alice can take Bitcoin and Bob can hand out cash at his grocery store, the XRPL or ILP could handle a transaction where someone sends Bitcoin to Alice and gets cash from Bob. Essentially, the technology would manage the routing, pricing, settlement, and record keeping. Okay, right. So, in regards to this, what's this about then? So, if you think about banks now, they kind of have this in a way. It's just not from a blockchain perspective, right? So, when you think about Nostro Vostro accounts, it's basically banks having accounts in other currencies with other banks, right? So there is like a trust line between banks, each other, you know, in regards to like doing cross-border payments and things like that, right? So all these banks, they have to have a certain element of trust because they're all doing business together, right? Each, you know, person has a bank with a different bank and they're all having to do necessary things to transfer money, etc. So there is a necessary there is an essential like trust between these banks. So what they're basically saying here is that a trust line can be set up between two banks, right? So it could be that these banks all, you know, set up trust lines between each other, and then rather than using XRP, they actually do the transactions via the trust line instead. This is a very real possibility, right? This is a very real possibility. And so this is why, once again, when I talk about the $10,000 theories, everybody talking about the banks ready to all use XRP, it's just not realistic. Now, the thing is with this, it's going to basically come down to options. And I've said this before, the same way people might want to use stablecoins instead of XRP, they might want to use trust lines with XRP. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think the trust line thing will be more of like a bank aspect, like that kind of thing, financial institution kind of thing, if they do it, because I think it's more like for bigger companies having that kind of trust element and whatnot, building up that relationship together, that kind of thing. But I do think, again, it's going to come down to preference. Some may just want to use XRP where they can just use the bridge asset and, you know, get it done that way. Some may want to set up the trust line. They may prefer having that element. Some may want to just use a stable coin etc., etc. So I do think it just comes down to this is just another option like you can have with, having a stable coin or anything like that as an alternative. I don't necessarily think that this is like the be all and end all. But again, this is another option that, institutions can have rather than directly using XRP. Okay. So in regards to this, the reality of it is, again, this is just telling you, in terms of people saying that every bank in the world is going to use XRP, it's just not realistic, right? There's many alternatives out there. It doesn't necessarily have to be, even a trust line. It could be a stable coin. It could be a different network. There's all these different alternatives that you can use. But I don't believe that XRP has to have every bank in the world using it for it to be successful. So the good news is that's not necessarily, it's not necessarily, the worst case scenario. Is not doom and gloom, because if XRP gets like a percentage of the cross-border payment sector, that will still be very successful for XRP. And also, I will say that, in regards to the people who think about the $10,000 theories, this is the kind of reality check that you guys need to see, because this is showing you that, not every bank is just going to use XRP. I'm sorry, but that's just not realistic. In my eyes, I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty confident that not every bank in the world will use XRP. I'm actually pretty confident that won't happen. Now, I think that, XRP will do enough to be successful, but every single bank in the world, I don't see it personally. I just don't. I think it's going to be an option there, an alternative option, and I think it can have a level of success. But every bank in the world, and this whole, they're just waiting for this flip to be switched and then everybody's just banking with XRP. Nah, I don't see that. I don't see that personally. Now, let's go through the pros of this situation still. Okay. Well, what you've got to understand is, even if, let's just say, these banks do decide to use a trust line, which I don't think every bank will do this, but I can't say for sure. Obviously, I don't know. But if they did choose to set up a trust line and do it in that way instead, it's still all being done on the XRP ledger. So even if they are setting up that trust line, it's still being done on the XRP ledger, which means XRP is still being utilized as a gas fee. So it's still volume. It's still on-chain volume, right, for the XRP ledger, and it's still XRP being utilized as a gas token. So that it's not the end of the world. It still means that XRP is being utilized, and it's still going to help. It's just not quite the, obviously if XRP is being used as the bridge currency, that's a lot better. It's a lot better than it just being used as just the gas token, because when XRP is used as a bridge currency, it's being used as a bridge currency and the gas token still involved. So it's double the utility. Whereas obviously if you're just using it through the gas token, then the bridge currency aspect isn't being utilized. So again, it's not going to impact it quite the same. But yeah, it's still going to add to the ecosystem growth, right? It's still going to build up that on-chain volume and the activity. So it's not necessarily, the end. It's not the end all be all for XRP to be used. But yeah, I mean, the reality is, I do think this is a very real possibility. And even David Schwartz is here saying, I hope that they do this. This is what the original vision was back in 2004. So again, this is what I like about David Schwartz, is he's just honest. And that's exactly how I am. It's whether you like it or not, I'm just going to tell you the truth. So you can attack me in the comments. You can tell me how wrong I am, but you've got the evidence right here in front of you. And you've got David Schwartz telling you all this stuff. So, it's I'm just kind of, don't shoot the messenger, right? Do you know what I mean? I'm just showing you exactly what David Schwartz is saying here. These are his words. So, look, to me, as I said before, I don't look at cross-border payments as the one thing that's going to make XRP successful. And if you actually do understand how XRP really works, you'll actually know that cross-border payments isn't what's really going to drive the price up anyway, because it's supply and demand in real time. So it's being brought and sold. So that's not going to drive the price up. So in all honesty, while I do want, XRP to be successful in the cross-border payment sector, I know that doesn't necessarily just equate to the price just shooting up to $1,000 or something like that. I know that's not how it works. So realistically, I don't really get too caught up in this kind of stuff. And I have a realistic outlook anyway. So this kind of stuff, it's yeah, I get it. That's completely fine. It doesn't affect me in that way. But, yeah, like I say, guys, I'm just here trying to give you the truth as always. So something to bear in mind, but obviously up to you guys what you want to believe. If you think that, David Schwartz is just saying this as a lie to get people worried about XRP or whatever, then, you know, that's up to you if you guys want to believe that. But, you know, to me, this is a very real scenario. I've got no reason to doubt this, and I think it is a very real possibility that banks will use this. I really do. So nothing in my eyes to be concerned about, but I just thought I would show you so you can understand the reality of what we're dealing with XRP. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.